a de-escalation in the trade war with China. This is ABC News.
Here we go. It's the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning. I'm Ken Lundberg, and it's what are we at? Wednesday already? Holy mackerel! You're gonna see me.
May.
You're gonna see me futzing with my microphone arm all hour long because it's been acting up this week. So my apologies in advance.
Not a problem.
And good morning. We've got Emily Hackworth and Deb Saylor here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
Absolutely. Let's see. Quick primer. Grab the microphone, make it your friend, bring it close to you.
Mhm.
There you go. Yeah, just like that. And we're going to be talking this hour about how to make the best grilled cheese sandwiches in
have a
Southwest Michigan, right?
Fabulous recipe. My
Do you
kids
really?
love it. Yes. Butter and cheese.
We might talk about parking as well. Butter?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your method? Because I have a specific method. Deb already knows because I quiz her about cheese all the time. But
Listen, I cannot cook. So I have mastered a couple of things like boxed mac and cheese and
Box
grilled
mac and
cheese.
cheese. You're killing me, Emily.
I have 2 small children and I cannot cook. It's butter on the outside.
okay.
I like sharp cheddar.
Okay.
No, it comes out cold, so it's just kind of in clumps. And then I put
She
it
really
in,
can't cook.
and then I put it in the pan.
Okay.
But the key is to squish it.
Yeah.
With the
Spatula.
spatula. There it is. Squish it.
Key is to grate the cheese. It melts better.
See, this
I
is
would go with what Deb says.
this is
I
the
gotta
key.
be honest.
Yeah, this is the key because there was one time I was getting cheese at the Cheese Lady St. Joe, and I asked Deb. I can't remember how we got onto it, but you gave me your grilled cheese secret, which is shredding the cheese before you put it on. And I had been doing it all wrong. I had just been cutting slices and throwing it on the bread, which my bread, by the way, I do butter sometimes,
Okay.
but primarily I like mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Little mayonnaise.
I'm a never mayonnaise.
Never,
So,
like ever?
Never.
Oh.
I know.
How do you
Yeah.
feel about mayonnaise, Deb?
I'm a butter person, but
Okay.
you can put a little Parmesan cheese on the outside too. Makes it extra
Ah.
crispy and salty
That's a great
and
idea.
extra delicious.
My kids can never eat at your house. So they'll be ruined.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. We've got Deb Saylor and Emily Hackworth in. Emily is from the city of St. Joe, and Deb is the owner-operator of the Cheese Lady St. Joe.
Cheese Lady St. Joe, yep.
And you're here to talk about parking today. So we'll get into that in just a moment. We'll go through some of the objectives, some of the history, some of the metrics for success that you're going to be looking at, some of the community feedback. You've been getting a little bit of that.
A little bit.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
We have.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show.
Extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
7:05, it's the WSJM Morning Show for Wednesday, April 23rd. Good morning, I'm Ken Lundberg. What do we have outside right now? Cloudy skies, 50 degrees in Benton Harbor, 48 in St. Joseph, 46 in South Haven. We've got some partly sunny skies that are supposed to peak out today, a 30% chance of showers or storms. A high today around 76 degrees, primarily inland. It's going to be a little bit cooler by the lake. Winds out of the southwest, light, about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight's forecast, partly cloudy, low of about 53. And then tomorrow, mostly sunny, a high around 80 degrees, which is just going to be crazy nice. We have, exactly. We get cold and snow, and then we get 80 degrees.
Nothing in between.
Nothing in between. We do have in the studio right now, we have a couple of special guests. We'll be talking with this hour after we get our news here in just a moment. We have Emily Hackworth from the city of St. Joseph. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you.
And also
Good
Deb
morning.
Saylor, owner and operator of the Cheese Lady St. Joseph. And good morning to you as well, Deb.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
And thank you for already sharing your secret for grilled cheese recipes. We'll talk more about that on the video live stream. But the two of you are here to talk about the parking fee situation that will start next month in downtown St. Joseph. So be ready. We're going to ask all the community questions. I've got the list of the Facebook comments.
Oh.
We're going to go through them, each and
gonna
every
read
one.
them all.
No, we're not going to do that.
We don't have time for
We
that.
don't. we wouldn't
We-
do that.
We've
But,
read them.
but we'll go through the kind of the history of how this came about, what the objectives are, what kind of some of the resistance points that you might be thinking about or facing, and we'll talk about how things are going to be rolled out over the next month or so. So we'll get that in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show. First, though, let's get some news from our WSJM newsroom. Passengers aboard. Oh, and one thing, got a silent. Yeah, okay.
It's time for me to wake up.
Oh no. Some of the news from the WSJM newsroom. Passengers aboard dial-a-ride buses will now be required to wear seat belts following action by Takata, the Twin Cities Area Transportation Authority Board, on Tuesday. The board heard from Takata Deputy Director Tressa Greshak, who showed video from inside a dial-a-ride bus. The video was taken during a crash that happened in February. It shows passengers in seats without another seat in front of them being thrown forward when the collision occurred. One of them struck their head, suffered serious injuries. Also, a baby stroller was knocked forward. Greshak said a new policy would mandate seatbelt use for passengers in similar positions.
The base of this seatbelt requirement, it's not going to be every single seat on the vehicle. It is what we are calling exposed seats.
Also, Greshak said items like wheelchairs and strollers will also have to be secured. She told the board passengers who refuse to comply with the seatbelt rule will be asked to move to another seat. While Takata cannot enforce the policy beyond that, she said this will at least help reduce injuries to passengers when there is a crash. Following the presentation, the Takata board approved the new seatbelt policy. A 2016 graduate of St. Joseph High School is the winner of America's Test Kitchen Next Generation Season 2. Alex Hugel graduated from the Kendall School of Culinary Arts and Hospitality Management after graduating from St. Joseph High School. You can watch him compete on the cooking show on Amazon Prime. It's on now. In a promo, he shared his food philosophy.
I love cooking and talking about food. It's all I know, and it's all I want to do.
I like his attitude. Because he came out on top of 11 contestants, Alex gets his own cookbook and a cool $100,000 in cash. St. Joseph High School culinary arts teacher Lori Berry remembers Alex well. She tells us she's incredibly proud of him, but not at all surprised. She adds that her students have been watching clips from the Amazon Prime show all week long. Alex now works as a chef at the Chopping Block in Chicago. And finally, South Haven will have a new community recreation director soon. During Monday's city council meeting, members approved an agreement to hire a part-time staff member from within the South Haven Public School District to fill the new role. Although community members raised questions about the position, South Haven Area Recreation Authority Director Scott Reinert explained how the role will function.
It's our intent that that person will come back, going out and identifying what are the needs of the community, both recreationally as well as with the individual programs and so forth. It's not intended, this person is not going to be running youth leagues. They're not going to be administrating, not going to be coaching. They're going to be helping. And so that's going to vary by particular position and particular groups, how best they can help.
In August of last year, voters in South Haven approved a recreation millage aimed at enhancing community recreational opportunities. The city then approached South Haven schools to help develop a plan and organize recreational needs for the community. The agreement between the city and South Haven schools is for 2 years with an option to renew after that. It budgets about $90,000 per year. That includes the salary and benefits for the position, as well as any equipment and other startup costs. To apply for that job, which will be posted soon, just watch for the job posting. It'll be put up at the South Haven Public School website. That's a look at some of the local news that we're covering in the WSJM newsroom. We have more to talk about this hour, including our guests in studio, Emily Hackworth from the city of St. Joseph and Deb Saylor, owner-operator of the Cheese Lady St. Joe. Why don't we say a quick good morning to these individuals who have joined us in studio this morning. Good morning, and thank you again for joining us.
Good morning.
Good
Thanks
morning.
for having us.
Let's talk a little bit about parking. We'll introduce the topic, and then we'll go on the video live stream and continue to give detail about that while people are listening to sports here on the radio. But first off, maybe I think I wanted to start this interview with that one thing that you want people to know. I mean, given kind of the public discussion that's happened about this for years now,
Yeah.
and maybe you start with you, Emily. What do you want people to know about how the parking fees are going to happen in St. Joseph?
I think there are two things that come to mind that, to me, I want people to know. The first is that it is meant to help the downtown businesses by alleviating congestion and making sure that there's more access to parking in sort of the highest demand areas. I think there's a lot of confusion about who we're trying to help. And then the other thing is that the downtown parking program by design includes free parking. There's also been a lot of confusion about, I shouldn't have to pay to come downtown. I shouldn't have to pay to go to work. You don't have to. Everyone gets choice. There are areas where you can choose to pay to park. There are areas where you can park for free.
Okay. That's the bottom line for you. Deb, you want to give, what's your one thought you want to have people really understand about this?
My one foremost thought right now is social media is a beast, and there's a lot of bad information, misleading information, plain just wrong information. And if you are, I understand people's anxiety and genuine concerns. I get it. I own a business down there, and I used to own a business on the other side of the street. So I get it. But if you want to, really think about it and dig down into the details, reach out to the city, reach out to a DDA member. I've told people repeatedly, I'm happy to sit down and talk with anybody. And usually that helps, but get actual information, not something you read on Facebook. It might be true, but there's a good chance it's exaggerated or overblown or just plain wrong. So get information from the source about what the program entails, like what the actual fees are and where it is and when it goes to. And because I think when people get the real information, it really, they still might have hesitation about it. They're still maybe not completely sure, but it really helps people to understand the motivation and the potential benefits and just the nuts and bolts of how it works. So
yeah, absolutely. And we appreciate both of you coming in and talking about that and giving us the information. So hearing it straight from you, we'll get the information out there. Whether that will calm the beast of social media, I don't know, Deb, but we'll see. We'll do our best. All right, we'll continue this discussion. We're going to do it on the video live stream, and then we'll come back in a couple of minutes. First, though, we have to get to Dave Wolf and sports. A couple of messages, our weather, and we'll be right back with this discussion. But if you want to keep going, we're going to listen on the video live stream as well. It's right here on WSJM.
Major League Baseball.
Okay. We're back on the video live stream. Thank you for joining us. It is the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning to Bill. Good morning to all. Good morning to Diane, as well as others who are on the video live stream. We have Emily Hackworth and Deb Saylor in the studio. For those who don't know, maybe just a brief introduction from each of you. Who are you? What's your role in this?
Sure. I'm Emily Hackworth. I am the city manager of St. Joseph. I have been for about 6 months, been with the city for about 2.5 years. And I, staff the parking subgroup, am working on implementation of all of this, obviously work closely with the city commission. So really sort of driving forward the implementation.
Okay.
I'm Deb Saylor. I am the cheese lady of St. Joe. I also own the market building. Previous to that, I own the Jimmy John's in downtown St. Joe and here in Benton Harbor for a decade. I've been on the DDA for over a decade, and I served on the parking subgroup that helped formulate this policy.
Okay, so thank you for that. So the DDA, Downtown Development Authority, for those who may not know, and part of downtown development, what the city has been focused on and Downtown Development Authority has been focused on is this question about parking. And I think some would even argue whether or not there's an issue with parking. What say you? Is there an issue with parking congestion in downtown?
Yes.
Okay.
A couple of tidbits, cut me off if I talk for too long.
Okay.
We have a downtown vision master plan. We had 2,000 touch points when that was developed. It was developed in 2018 and 2019, adopted in 2020. 2,000 touch points. Parking in downtown was the number one first listed complaint.
So when
concern.
you say touch point, reaching out to a stakeholder saying, hey, what do you see? What do you want?
It was open houses, surveys, lots of collecting data from the public.
Okay.
And that rose to the top. More recently, just as a side note, we're working on Main Street. We're going to be redoing that in a couple of years. It's actually MDOT who's doing it. They did a survey of our residents to understand the pain points. About 900 responses. And they called us and they said, you guys have a problem with parking because all of these responses are about parking in your downtown.
Yeah.
We're just asking about Main Street. I mean, it raises to the top always.
Okay.
I think anyone who's driven downtown in the summer knows how frustrating it can be to try to find parking.
Okay. And so we do have an issue with parking and potential solutions. What I'll ask you to do is maybe just walk us through. All right. So it's been on the table for a while. How has it evolved? How have you addressed it over the years?
Sure. I think one other thing I should say about the parking problem
Yeah.
is that the studies that we've done have shown it's not that we've run out of parking, it's that everyone's trying to park in the same places.
Hmm.
Everyone's trying to park exactly where they're going, primarily on the west side of downtown. So when you look at the east side of downtown, there are open spaces. So part of the challenge and part of this program is about sort of smoothing out that demand so that we are utilizing all of the spaces that we have available. So, I mean, I sort of talked a little bit about the journey to your point. This started with the master plan, the city's master plan in 2016, where the master plan speaks about the need to solve parking in the downtown. We looked at it again for the downtown vision master plan in 2020, which recommended paid parking. The DDA, soon after that, I think in 2020, made recommendations for paid parking. The city commission said, yeah, we want to do paid parking, but we don't want to do it quite like this. We're going to put together a parking subgroup that's going to come together and really work through the nuts and bolts of this. That was formed in 2022. That's where I started working for the city and started convening the parking subgroup. And at that time, the parking subgroup hired a consultant who came in and did a study to look at, do we even need paid parking?
Mhm.
And if so, what should it look like? They released a report. We brought our recommendations to the city commission back in July of 24. And we've been working through this ever since.
Okay. And mid-May is when the parking fee structure is going to go into place. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the implementation here in just a moment. More on the background as well. It's the WSJM Morning Show, 7:19. We'll be right back.
Springs Public Schools on News Talk Sports WSJM.
Partly sunny skies today. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms, mainly mid-morning, and then we'll clear out this afternoon. 76 for the high today. Partly cloudy tonight. We drop down to 53 for the overnight low, and sunny and warm for Thursday with highs near 80. We're back to rain showers and cooler air. That returns on Friday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
7:19. It's the WSJM Morning Show on your Wednesday. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. Temperature outside in Benton Harbor right now, 50 degrees. St. Joseph, 49. South Haven is 47 degrees. Over in Dowagiac, 52 degrees, and some clouds moving through the area all day long. We've got two guests in studio right now. Emily Hackworth from the city of St. Joseph and Deb Saylor, also from the city of St. Joseph, owner-operator of the Cheese Lady in St. Joe. And you know her from her Jimmy John days, and now you know her as the Cheese Lady at the market. We love the market, by the way.
Thank you.
It's a lot
I
of fun.
appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to get through, especially when you're giving them the cheese samples
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. But this morning we're talking about the paid parking situation in downtown St. Joseph. It's been a little bit of a lightning rod for some comments on social media and in other forums, and basically people fall into two camps. One is we're looking forward to the churn that the paid parking will bring as far as business activity. The other side of the camp is saying, I'm no longer going to downtown ever again, ever again,
Yeah.
because there's paid parking downtown. So May 15th is when the paid parking system goes into effect. Emily Hackworth, because you're representing the city, let's talk a little bit about the implementation. You talked just a moment ago about the history of how we got here,
Mhm.
and both in surveys and I assume in statistical analysis of the traffic that's going through.
Sure. When we brought our consultant in, we were able to give a lot of data about, we have a parking car that folks might see
Yes.
going around downtown.
It's the one with
We-
300 cameras on it.
A
that-
million cameras.
Okay, all right.
And you control with a joystick.
Oh,
I
no.
recently learned.
Okay.
Super cool. I've never been in it.
I didn't know that.
But we have a ton of data. So we were able to hand a lot of data off to our consultant who was able to analyze it.
And that data looked at how many cars do we have downtown? How long are
Yep.
they sitting in parking spots? How many open spots are there per hour? All that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And what did it tell you?
Well, it told us, I mentioned this already, that we have a capacity problem. The goal for parking is to be at about 80 to 85% utilization, which means that you've got 15 to 20% open spaces.
Okay.
So that when someone comes downtown, they want to hop into a coffee shop or go to the bookstore, they can pull into a space without frustration. We didn't have that, right? On the west side of Main Street, we are at capacity, and on the east side, we are under capacity. That was really the big finding. And so what they did was developed a structure that would allow us to motivate folks to move. One of the challenges that we hear about a lot is people park all day in downtown, but they're at the beach.
Okay.
People park all day in the prime spaces downtown, but they're actually working, right? So those spaces that customers are trying to get into to go pick up their coffee or, whatever they're going to do, run out to lunch, are taken by folks who are not moving. So it's one of the things that we're trying to figure out. How do we get those folks motivated to move to slightly lower demand locations?
Yeah.
Still park for free, no problem. So that's what they work through.
So part of thank you for that explanation. And so the goal is to bring it down to 85% capacity.
Yeah.
And
that's best practice.
okay.
Right. Our consultant has said it's a little bit art, a little bit science, right? We might need to make some tweaks as we go. But yes, that is the goal. The best practice is about 85% utilization.
Okay. And so if you're at 100% currently, that other 15%, 20%, where are they going to park? What's the idea?
On the east side of Main Street.
Okay.
So we are under capacity there. The study shows we're at, maybe 50% capacity there.
Okay.
So there's room for folks to move over. We've secured the Box Factory parking lot on Broad Street. We've secured the courthouse lot for nights and weekends, which I think will be a big help. As every downtown employee knows, there's lots of other free parking in the downtown that aren't necessarily the city-owned parking lots. So there is lots of parking. And so shifting it over and moving out of some of those highest demand locations is really the goal.
One of the big concerns that came out early was about employees, people who work on the west side of Main Street. And yes, you want your customer spaces open, but yes, you also want your employees to get to work safely.
Absolutely.
And so if you have employees now who are pedestrians coming from the east side at the courthouse, maybe they work over on the south side of Main Street, how are they going to get there safely? And is that a realistic, as far as thinking about convenience of, I'm going to get to work, for me, I drive into a parking lot. It's super simple.
Yep.
West side of Main Street, different story.
Yeah. That is part of working downtown. You're never guaranteed a space right in front of where you're working. It's not like being here. Lots of options for where you park. I would imagine employees still want to park as close as they can. I would encourage folks to cross at the light.
Yeah.
Right? Don't try to Frogger your way through traffic.
Yeah.
We have lights at Broad and at Port. Thank you. Cross at the light. And, I say this a lot. One of the things I like about this program is everyone gets choice, right? This is not saying all employees must park here or all beachgoers must park here or anything else. They're welcome to choose to pay to park. They're welcome to choose to stay on the west side and park close if they don't want to cross Main Street. But I would understand that many do not want to do that. But I like that there's choice. There are a lot of places they can choose to park. We are always. It is so early in the morning. I can't be
You can have a
expected to
sip
have
of coffee.
all
That's
the right
fine.
words.
No, that's all right.
We are also working on improving Main Street. It is a Frogger
Yeah.
situation if you're crossing anywhere but the lights.
It's a busy street. It's practically a highway.
It is,
Yeah.
and MDOT will tell us that.
Right.
We have the temporary pedestrian crossing at Pleasant Street that comes out in the summer. We've gotten fabulous feedback about that. You still need to be safe. but it's much improved. And when we do the MDOT bigger change, we will be putting in more pedestrian islands, more protection, probably one more stoplight at Ship Street. So it will be even easier to cross at that time.
I mean,
Yeah,
and
Deb
if I
Saylor.
could just chime in. So people are like, oh, they're going to park across Main Street. I am certain that before paid parking happened, a lot of those employees last year and the year before, and for the last 20 years that I've lived here, were already parking there. That's where most of the all day spots were. So unless you were working a 2 or 3 hour shift, you were probably parking there anyways. And not that it was never a concern, but it was never vocalized like, oh my gosh, my employee parks in Big Lot 11 behind the bank. They were parking there anyways. I mean, when I owned Jimmy John's, that's where I instructed my employees to park. The good spots, I own a business.
Yeah.
The good spots are for the customers or your clients.
Right.
I mean, that to me is just business 101.
You want money to walk in
and
the door.
so they were already parking there. I mean, I've seen a lot of comments on Facebook. Oh, I have a teenage employee and now they have to walk across Main Street. You close at 6 o'clock. I don't understand what you're afraid of. Like if you have a 17-year-old working for you, she can't walk 2 blocks in broad daylight in downtown St. Joe on a July evening. That doesn't make sense to me. And if you sit down and talk one-on-one with people who are like, I can't afford to park, and you ask, well, where do you park? Like your boss lets you go move your car every 2 hours? That seems, if I were the boss, I wouldn't, like I need my employees in the shop. That's why they're on the schedule. Like I'm not going to pay you for 20 minutes to go find a new spot because you don't want to get a ticket. They were probably already parked. A lot of them were probably already parking that there. I know there's a lot of people that in the summer, because most of the paid parking spots were always 3 hours in the summer. There was a lot of employees working an 8-hour shift that would just go move their car.
Yeah.
And probably the amount of time they spent walking and moving and finding a new spot, because it is tricky in July to find a spot, especially on the west side of Maine, but they were spending a lot of time and a lot of walking already doing that. And then my final thing is like, well, we need a dedicated employee parking lot or a parking garage. Well, I guarantee you either one of those things, if they were ever to come into existence, would exist on the east side of Main Street.
Yeah.
That's where it would go.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the argument, well, they can't possibly cross Main Street and get to work. Well, they could, and they already have been doing it. And your other solutions would involve them doing that anyway. So.
Okay. We have to take a break. We're going to come back after Bloomberg Financial Minute, our ABC World and National News. We're talking with Emily Hackworth from the city of St. Joseph and Deb Saylor, owner-operator of Cheese Lady of St. Joe, about parking stuff happening in downtown St. Joseph. It's going into effect in mid-May. We'll come back and talk more in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show. We'll continue on the video live stream. If you want to tune into that, it's on YouTube and Facebook. Just type in WSJM and check us out there.
Would you call free check?
Not that you're passionate about it at all. Not that you've thought about this, Deb.
You know,
For years.
So so I have evolved quite a bit on parking.
Yeah, where did you
Just-
begin on this?
Okay, so when we first moved here, I lived in the western suburbs of Chicago. We moved up here almost 20 years ago when we opened the Jimmy John's. And like when Emily was talking about, it's always been identified as a number one problem. I never went to any St. Joe Today like merchant meeting or public meeting. I've never been to a meeting where at some point it didn't devolve into, oh, the parking. And I would look around coming from a suburb that really did have very limited parking and it was all very restricted. None of it was more than 2 hours. Like a lot of stuff. And I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. There's a lot of parking in this town.
Yeah.
But that it's kind of set in stone here that the biggest problem this town faces is there's no place to park. I mean, I would argue that's kind of a good thing. That means people want to come to all our stores and restaurants. But okay, so it is a problem. It's been consistently identified by, I mean, just anecdotally, when I owned a business, when the Jimmy John's business owners would always talk, you know, when they're pulling their hair out about, oh, there's no place to park. It's those dang beachgoers and all these employees taking up all the spots. Like at that point, it's always been recognized to me, like that's who's utilizing the parking that would be more convenient for their customers. And so, you know, if it is going to be the number one problem we identify, let's try and solve it. You know, there's so much stuff on social media. Oh, the city hates businesses, which is just such a weird talking point to me. I don't get it. I've never met a city official that hates downtown businesses and wants them to fail. That's not a thing. Or that the city's greedy. I don't get that one at all. But I mean, I joined the DDA because I wanted to help make the downtown better. And if my voice or my, if I could, I was happy to serve in that capacity. And when I was asked to join the parking committee, I was like, sure. I mean, I thought at the time when it was first brought up in DDA, I thought, well, that seems like an overkill of a solution. Like, is that really what this town needs? It's a small town. Is it going to hurt business? I mean, my gut instinct was it's going to hurt downtown business. And so, other community leaders, other experts, studies were brought in just to present, information. And very quickly on the parking committee, it's like, okay, we can all think we know what we know, but we don't actually have any expertise in what is the best practice, what would actually work for exactly like a town, not a big city and not a different town, but for our town, what would work. And so lots of information was presented to me that changed my mind. I was surprised by how much revenue, very conservative estimates, it could bring in. The downtown needs, the DDA has a very, very limited budget. We buy new banners and buy flowers and pay for one guy to clean up the streets in the city. Like, we don't have that much money, and it's in need of investment. And the investment is expensive. There's 13 parking lots. One of them was just redone. To me, the price tag was staggering for a parking lot. They all need to be redone. Like, the revenue would benefit all the businesses. It would make it a more desirable place to come. And as a business owner, why wouldn't you want that? If you have, when I had Jimmy John's at lunch, I had 12 employees, 13 employees working on a busy lunch. They can't all be parking there. I need those 12 spots for customers to come in, and they can't park down the block because that's not being a good neighbor. Yeah. Like, those businesses need their customers to come in. So
hang on just one moment. No, you're good. We're that's what we're here for. So this is good. We'll be right back. It's the WSJM Morning Show.
Late yesterday, Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
If you're missing the video live stream, you're missing a lot on WSJM. We're continuing our discussion with Emily Hackworth and Deb Saylor from the city of St. Joe and the Cheese Lady of St. Joe, respectively. We are talking about the parking issue in downtown St. Joseph. We'll continue that discussion in just a moment. We'll talk about the money issue. Talk about what it's going to cost to park downtown, what you can expect to pay if you're going to go park at the beach all day long, and then where that money will go. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. First off, let's get a quick check of the weather forecast. As we mentioned, it's going to be a decent day. We didn't expect any rain yesterday, but we got it. We do expect some rain today, so we'll see if that happens. Partly sunny skies, a 30% chance of showers, maybe a thunderstorm or two. A high today around 76 degrees. Winds out of the southwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight's forecast, partly cloudy, a low of 53. Thursday, mostly sunny. That's going to be a warm one. High of 80 degrees tomorrow is expected. Friday, cooling off just a little bit, a high of 72. And Saturday, cooling off even more, a high of 60 with a slight chance of showers. Friday's going to be the wet one. Yeah, about a 70% chance of showers on Friday. We've got news coming up in just a moment. We'll get the latest right now from ABC. We'll get our sports coming up from Dave Wolf and our local news that's coming up next.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. Evacuation orders have been lifted for thousands of people in Ocean County, New Jersey, who are told to leave their homes because of a growing wildfire. Kelly Mendoza, one of the evacuees whose power was also cut, says she's not the one people should be thinking about.
Just pray for the firefighters and the police that are all fighting this fire, and they get it under control, and God be with them.
Thousands of faithful filing past the casket of Pope Francis as he lies in state at St. Peter's Basilica. Most did not know him personally, but Sister Jeanette Gaudette did.
He was somebody that I will never forget because he was so personal and funny. Personal and funny and full of joy and hope.
The Pope's funeral will be held on Saturday. The market's pointing higher following a strong day on Tuesday as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told a group of bankers that he doesn't think the current situation with tariffs between the U.S. and China is sustainable. This is ABC News.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
It is the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning. I'm Ken Lundberg. 7:36 is the time. We'll be back to talk more about the St. Joseph parking issue. That's coming up in just a moment. We'll continue that on the live stream. Previewing the news stories that we'll be telling you about at 8 o'clock this morning. Dredging to allow for recreational boating in the St. Joseph River area this summer has begun in Benton Harbor. We'll tell you about that. Also, the Cook Nuclear Power Plant weather buoy is back in Lake Michigan. Fishermen like to know about this. They like to know the waves, the water temperature, all that other stuff. So the buoy is back out, and we'll tell you how to get the information from it. That's coming up. And then most of Michigan's 85 roadside parks are reopening for the season next week. These are mostly on M routes or US routes. Southwest Michigan has one. It's out near Watervliet. We'll tell you about that. It's called the Artesian Flow Park at 2031 M140 near Watervliet. If you don't know, that one stays open all year round, but the rest of them, they close for the winter because they don't have insulation and the water pipes freeze and all, havoc breaks loose. But we'll talk about all that stuff at 8 o'clock this morning. It's the WSJM Morning Show. We'll continue our interview about parking. That's on the video live stream right now. We've got sports. That's coming up next after a look at state news.
The Michigan.
And the WSJM Morning Show continues. A comment on the video live stream. Good morning, Teresa. You've been absent for a while. It's good to see you back. We're happy to have you back, Teresa. Let's see. Sean Hill says, he had a couple of comments here. He says, this was a bad idea. When all the parking spots fill up on the east side of Main Street, all the employees who come in the afternoon will have to park in paid parking. And the second thing he said was, what about the older employees who work downtown? Do you expect them to cross that busy road? Thoughts?
It's great feedback. We're trying to think of everything we can. We've made a lot of adjustments along the way. The parking gets crowded on the west side. Parking's going to get crowded on the east side. Like Deb said, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
We're going to monitor it. And if we need to make tweaks, we will.
Emily, can you
yeah.
talk about how you can make tweaks? I know that the city commission, when you put the final rule in place, you did something that allowed the city commission to move quickly on
We
changing
got
rules.
a little clever.
Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
So you can make changes in the charter, and that requires 2 readings of the changes. That means 2 meetings, and then it takes 10 days to go into effect. We didn't want to have to wait that long if we need to make a tweak. So what we did is we did adopt some of the basics in the charter, but we then adopted the specifics, the details in a resolution. A resolution requires just 1 meeting. So if we do decide we need to make a tweak somehow, add more free parking or change the rate or, who knows what, we can do that with 1 meeting. So it would go into effect very quickly.
That 1 meeting. So just to be clear, if an issue arises, the city commission is informed of it, then it's brought up at a meeting and then the rule changes at that meeting.
Assuming that the city commission approves the change.
Okay.
Yes, I should be clear. The city commission votes on these things. They make the final decision. It would require a vote of the commission.
Okay.
But yes, once approved, it would go into effect.
Okay. And then the issue for people who might
Yeah.
have some physical challenges.
Yeah. So, I'll start with everyone has choice and park where they would like. We are also working on releasing some policies that will give some flexibility. One of them is for folks who work downtown, who have limited income and mobility limitations. So if you qualify, we'll be giving waivers to those folks. You can come in and apply at City Hall because, we don't want people trying to struggle to walk a long distance if they're not able to. And we also don't want to punish them by charging them. So anyone who qualifies can get a waiver. We're doing the same thing for downtown residents. We heard from them really clearly. There are folks who live downtown and don't have dedicated parking. It's just how their buildings were built. And they said, why should we have to pay? So for folks who already live downtown, have been relying on public parking, we're going to give them a waiver so they can continue to park for free as well. So we're working on programs like that that really think about where do we need to make some accommodations to make this work?
Yeah. Handicap tag, does that automatically qualify you for a waiver?
Handicap tag can park in a handicap space, but it's still paid.
Okay.
The state offers a sticker that allows folks with this sticker to park for free anywhere. Doesn't have to be a handicap space. And if it's a paid space, you don't have to pay. So we are encouraging folks who have handicap tags to go to Secretary of State and look at whether they qualify for that.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for responding to that. Any other questions, just please put them into the chat here on our video live stream, and we'll be happy to pose them as long as they're decent questions. I've seen some of the social media.
Yeah.
Can I respond
please.
to his question about what about the afternoon employees and they can't find a parking spot?
Absolutely.
I would like to point out, again, before paid parking exists,
Yep.
employees that came in the afternoon frequently had a problem finding a parking spot that they wanted to park in that was their first choice.
Yeah.
Every summer I've lived here. That will continue to be a problem. People will continue to, struggle to park, especially on a festival day or 4th of July weekend, Crazzle. Like it will continue to be, because there's a high demand for people to come down there. But in my mind, the highest demand days, especially for weekend workers, when a restaurant needs way more servers and stuff, we will have the courthouse parking lot that will be free, that will offer employees on the free side, if that's where they're choosing to park, a lot more spaces. So will there be days when they can't find a spot right in a lot of, yeah, probably. But that was a problem before we had paid parking. That's not going to be necessarily directly caused by paid parking. It's just caused by the high demand in summer.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. I was just going to say, we've talked to a lot of people. Downtown employees tell me, oh, I park in the residential areas. I had one person say, oh, I always park by the AT&T store and walk. I mean, I think that people who have worked downtown for years have figured this out, right? They know it's congested. They know they're going to have to circle the block, and they have figured out where they can park to sort of easily pull up, find parking, and walk to work. I see people walking down the residential parts of State Street all the time, in their Rybells, uniform or whatever it is on their way to work. So I do think this is a longstanding issue, and a lot of employees have figured out
right.
an option
for a
that makes
weekend,
sense.
a lot of employees just get dropped off those weekends because the parking is really limited, say that weekend, So to Emily's point, employees who have worked there a long time, if this is their first summer, maybe it's going to be trickier, but employees who worked there last summer, they've made a plan already. They've figured it out. We used to own apartments downtown that had no parking spots. We told residents when they moved in and signed their lease, here are your options. And they figure it out.
Yeah.
When you need to find a place to park, you find it.
Okay. We'll talk a little bit more about the residential versus paid parking in just a moment. We'll also talk about where the money is going.
Yeah.
That's going to be
Yes.
raised, presumably. So we'll talk about that in just a moment right here on the WSJM Morning Show. It's 7:45. We've got weather coming up next.
2856 800 738 2856.
Partly sunny skies today. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms, mainly mid-morning, and then we'll clear out this afternoon. 76 for the high today. Partly cloudy tonight. We drop down to 53 for the overnight low, and sunny and warm for Thursday with highs near 80. We're back to rain showers and cooler air. That returns on Friday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
You did what? We're back on the radio. It's the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. Here with me in the studio, Emily Hackworth from the city of St. Joseph, and the Cheese Lady is here, Deb Saylor with the Cheese Lady of St. Joseph. Sorry, I couldn't help but bring up cheese because I've never met a cheese that I didn't like, and you can tell. And a blue cheese, you had a blue bar.
So that was
Come up to the microphone a little bit, please.
That was at Christmas time. So at Christmas, we get more fancy cheese in, and there's a lot of fun blue cheeses. They're a little bit pricier. We bring them in at the holidays.
That's because they're blue.
And people will treat themselves more for the fancy cheeses at the holidays. So I had a couple of weekends during the holidays where I set out a blue bar so you could taste all the fancy ones side by side and
That
pick
sounds
your
really good.
favorite. And it was super fun.
You didn't think to bring that in this morning?
Well, no. And I mean, but we usually have about 25 blues on the menu.
Wow. 25 blue cheeses.
Yeah, we got about 150 or 60 cheeses usually in stock. And
I can
blue-
name 2 blue cheeses, Stilton and not Stilton.
Oh, you got to come
Well
in.
done.
I'll get you. Stilton's delicious.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Roquefort, right? Is that another one?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a sheep's milk blue.
Oh, there you go.
But there's a lot of fun ones. There's smoked blues.
We
there's-
digress. Let's talk
We
about
digress, I'm
parking.
sorry.
Sorry about that. We're talking with Emily Hackworth and Deb Saylor about the parking issue from a two different perspectives, one from the city perspective, one from a business owner perspective. You're on the west side of Main Street, Deb.
I am.
And but you've had businesses on the, or at least a business on the east side of Main Street. So thank you for providing your
I
perspective.
think we said that backwards.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Deb's on the east side.
Oh, I'm sorry.
right.
She used
You're
to
right.
be on the west side.
Right.
I did say that
Listen,
backwards. Thank you.
I live and breathe this.
Okay.
You're welcome.
So on the west side, that's where the parking situation is going to be going in, where people will have to pay to park. How much is it?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
One thing I want to say is that we are standardizing parking. You're probably not super familiar with our current parking map.
Okay.
It's a mess.
Okay.
There's some all-day parking spaces. There's some 2 hour. There's some 3 hour. There's some that are 2 hour, but in the summer they changed all day. We are standardizing it across the board. All of the lots will be all day, and all of the on-street will be 3 hours. We heard that 2 hours is not long enough. So it's simple as that across the board. On-street is the highest demand. That will be $2 an hour, up to 3 hours.
Okay.
The lots will all be all day, and they will all be $1 an hour.
Okay. Okay. So you have both the lot solution
Yep.
or the on-street solution.
Yep.
And it'll be standardized. You've got a map posted somewhere.
We have a map posted somewhere, and we have an even better map that I just signed off on last night and should be posted today.
Okay. And
So-
those are going to be put on the city website.
Correct.
Okay. So
Yeah.
just go to the City of St. Joseph website. They'll have the new map that was just
brochures, right?
approved,
Yep.
and brochures will be passed
We're
out.
working on all the materials. We'll start posting on social media. We'll have all the information out.
There are lines where there is paid parking, and then the spot right next to it, I presume, is going to be not paid parking. Like I'm talking at the boundaries where residential areas are.
Correct.
What do you say to the residents in those areas where all of a sudden they've got a lot of parking in the free, not paid spots?
Yeah, I think I would say that it might not be all of a sudden.
Okay.
I mean, maybe we'll see some marginal change. I think that's happening already. Deb and I were just talking the other day, and I said, when we come downtown, we park in the residential part of State Street.
Yeah.
The neighbors on State Street might not love that, but it's true.
It's something they're used to.
And we have to
Yeah.
park a few blocks back.
Yeah.
Because we're not the only ones who had that idea. So I think that's happening already. I think some neighbors don't mind it and some probably don't love it, but that's part of living close to a very popular downtown that is, city-owned parking, and folks are welcome to use it.
Okay. Where will the money that's raised from this, how much do you project to raise?
About $600,000
Okay.
will be the, what we will bring in.
Per-
That's after all of the expenses.
May to September, mid-May to
May
mid-September.
15th to September 15th.
Okay.
A little less this year because we obviously have more expenses this year getting the pay stations and all of that in. And, I say it all the time, we are not doing this for the revenue. We are doing this to solve the parking problem. The revenue, however, is going to be very good for St. Joseph. I believe we have underinvested in our downtown. I think we are really lucky that we have the lovely, charming downtown that we have, because I think it's been coasting for many years. And, as Deb said, the DDA gets $60,000 a year. That is not enough to make a meaningful impact for all of the need downtown. So this revenue, 80% at a minimum, will go into the downtown. That is a huge influx of funds for the downtown that the downtown has not seen previously. So we're going to be able to use that to do all sorts of things, improve our parking lots. I hear about the alleys all the time, how terrible the condition is. We are going to be able to beautify the downtown, do streetscape. We were just talking about the path down to below the bluff.
It's terrifying.
Wouldn't it be lovely to have an ADA accessible, user-friendly path that takes us down, but also brings folks who went to the beach or to the fountain or to the carousel or to Silver Beach Pizza up so that they look up the bluff and say, oh, what's going on up there? And they come up and do some shopping too. So there are lots of ways that we can use this revenue to really benefit the downtown.
That you mentioned the 80%. Where does the other 20% go?
To the general fund.
Okay.
So that would go towards improving streets or, doing other things citywide.
Whatever the city commission signs off on.
Exactly. Yep.
What are you, and let's make this part of our Moody on the Market update. Your Moody on the Market update brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today, your local auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. This is clearly a business update because as you mentioned, this is for businesses to help them drive more traffic, get more traffic in front of their businesses so they can walk through the door and spend money, which we like. What are your measures of success? How will you measure success with this program?
Yeah. I think that capacity is one of the really key metrics. Understanding how much capacity there is on any given day and how we've been able to free up space to create that turnover. As the system goes in, we are learning about all of the other metrics that we can gather. Understanding how many folks are coming downtown, understanding, how many hours they're paying for. We're going to pull all kinds of metrics from the systems, but I really think that turnover and that capacity is important. The other thing that I think is really important, more qualitative, is hearing from our downtown businesses, right? I know that downtown business owners are nervous and I understand why they are, right? This is a big change. It impacts their livelihood. I get why they are concerned. So hearing from them, I think will be really essential. Hopefully, as we get into this program, they will realize, oh, people are still coming downtown and this is actually good for my business. But we'll be listening. I think that'll be a really important metric.
What is the best way for, say, a business owner to get that feedback to you once it starts?
Sure. I mean, anyone can reach out to me anytime. I've had so many sit-down meetings with business owners to talk through the program and their concerns and other things. I'm happy to continue to do that. They can reach out to the commission. The commissioner's emails are all online. They can come to a commission meeting. There are lots of ways to get that feedback shared. They can come to a DDA meeting, lots of opportunities. But I am always happy to talk to anyone.
The hours, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And will it be 7 days a week?
Yes.
7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. How did you arrive at the hours of 9 p.m.? I think 9 p.m., you're going to charge me until 9 p.m. Why not cut it off at 5 or 6?
Yeah. It was recommended by our consultant looking at the data.
Bring the consultant in here. I want to talk to him.
I know. I'm sure he'd be thrilled. I think the reality is that the downtown is busy. I tried to take my family out for dinner, and there are times where I can't find parking. We stay busy pretty late in the evening. Again, we're going to look at the metrics. If 9 is too late, I think we can scale it back. But based on what we've seen, we have that kind of demand.
Okay.
Late into the evening.
It's a nice problem to have.
It's a wonderful problem to have.
I mean, and that's changed since we've lived here. The amount of foot traffic and people just, there's a lot of restaurants downtown. They're so popular, they go on hour, 2 hour, 3 hour waits in peak season. And so people, they put their name in and they walk in down the shops and stuff. And so, we live in a resort town in the summer. And so people are walking around, and there's a lot of really good restaurants downtown that are very busy. So,
okay. All right, we've got a couple more questions on the video live stream. We'll get to those in a moment. We have to get a couple messages in. This has been part of our Moody on the Market update, brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today, your local auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and Niles. We're almost done. 3.5 minutes left before the hour's up. We'll be right
It was a
back.
quick hour.
We're watching over you. IMS Insurance Management Service.
Okay, just looking at a couple more questions that have come in on the, let's see. Couple of folks, you've talked to a lot of people. There should be a shuttle. Teresa says there should be a shuttle for people who want to park at the courthouse. Thoughts?
Yeah, this has come up a lot. The Downtown Vision Master Plan speaks about a shuttle. I've spoken to a lot of residents and business owners who have mentioned that. And with $600,000 a year, maybe there can be a shuttle. Right now, there can't. I am working on the budget right now, and I can assure you
The money's not there.
the money's not there.
Okay.
But I mean, maybe that is something the DDA will say that should be the first thing we spend our revenues on. Again, it is all meant to stay in the downtown, and so that could be a lovely addition to our downtown.
Let's see. Got another couple things. People complaining about the courthouse being not enough. Oh, because you can't park there till after 6 p.m. A lot of afternoon employees come in at 4 p.m.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we are so appreciative that the county agreed to give us access to that lot. Right now, there's signage up that says that it is only available for people going to the courthouse. That signage is going to come down. We're going to replace it with signage that says it's open nights and weekends. It's not in our control, but we're grateful for the additional hours that we get. That's 200 additional parking spaces.
Okay. All right. We've got to get back in for ABC News. A couple more comments here to close out. It's the WSJM Morning Show.
It's constant. Beyond transmission lines, Cook is connected to the community with corporate sponsorships, employee volunteering, and the Heart of Cook grants and scholarships, striving to be good stewards of our neighborhoods and our environment. Because at Cook Nuclear Plant, they know the power of community.
From the Pat Moody Studios, this is WSJM FM Benton Harbor, St. Joseph, a product of Midwest Family Marketing and Media. Proudly serving our community. The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
The first thing Emily said when she came in this morning was, "How long are we going to be here?"
I know.
The full hour.
I know.
And has it felt like an hour?
It has not. It has gone very quickly, but it has felt early the whole time.
So
True story.
I should probably not ask. Are you both? Are you a morning person?
I am not.
Deb?
Not so much.
Okay. All right. I am.
I'm a
Yeah.
slow
Yeah.
morning person. I enjoy the morning, but we're on my deck with a cup of coffee,
you see-
watching the birds.
Okay, not so
I
bad.
listened to you on my way here,
Oh,
and I
thank you.
thought, oh, he's already going. Wow.
Every single day.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Emily Hackworth from the city of St. Joseph and Deb Saylor, owner-operator of the Cheese Lady St. Joe and the market in downtown St. Joe. Thank you both for coming in and sharing your views and your perspectives and the information on the parking situation in downtown. Hopefully we got some information out there. I don't think we're going to quell the critics because there are a lot of them, but at least maybe some people who were on the fence or wanted some more information got some more information. So thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're here. We're happy to talk to anyone who's continuing to have questions.
More to come up. Sorry, we'll
Oh,
get
you're
back
not
to
done with us.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, no, it's 8:00. We've got local news next.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston.
Deb, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Well, I kind of did because we had the clock, but go
I
ahead
just
now.
wanted to thank you for the opportunity. You know, I think it's so important for people to get good information so they can make really informed. You know, I understand the fear and the panic about it. As a business owner, there's so many factors at play, and you don't want any of them to mess with your customers. You know, everyone who owns a business downtown is there because they want to provide a good or a service to all the people that visit our downtown, and they don't want to make it an unenjoyable experience for them. So, I mean, I truly appreciate it. But you know, I think a little bit of that underestimates what the public or the shopping public is. You know, I mean, I shop in downtowns like this all over. It would never occur to me to not go to a place I want to go because it costs me an extra $1. And I know there are people that might be, you know, a barrier, but it's not that big of a downtown. I mean, I think I frequently joke, you could fit our whole little State Street in a Meijer parking lot.
Yeah.
It's just not that big. And so if you really don't want to pay, and it's a beautiful July afternoon, you can park in a free spot and walk the block or two. So, I understand, but I think once it goes into action and people see how it works and that it works, I think, just implementing it and giving it a chance will go a long way to quell. Some people are, they're just going to be riled up about it, but, and I get it. They're very passionate about it.
Yeah.
I am too, but I think, I don't think it's going to be the nightmare that people are projecting it's going to be.
Okay. Well, let's hope not. And we'll take a look at it after May 15th is when it goes into effect.
Yep.
And I'm sure we'll be on the phone to talk about how it's going and see what kind of feedback you're getting.
We'd love to keep talking.
All right. Very good. All right. Thank you both for coming in this morning. That's the WSJM Morning Show video live stream. We'll wrap it up here and we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, it's our last robotics roundup. We'll have Tim Denai in to give us his view of what happened in Houston at the Worlds competition. The Average Joes were there. Lakeshore was there. A few others were there. We'll bring back a report and give you all the information you want to know. Thank you for joining us. It's the WSJM Morning Show.
Folks just like you that were misled into buying a timeshare. Give us a call. I guarantee you, if we take you as